Coffee with the Editor is proudly brought to you by IRZ.
The theme of this year's International Heavy Haul was Heavy Haul 4.0. Tell me a bit more about the event and what happened.
I think the event was really great from the point of view of taking a paradigm shift from what IHHA or the heavy haul industry has been done to get them to where they are, but now to capitalize and explore opportunities related to the fourth industrial revolution. So I think it was really great from that point of view. We've had a number of presentations coming from a number of countries. We had about 160 technical papers that were presented on areas of technology deployment, specifically of Industry 4.0 nature, that were presented. Those were presented by over 25 countries, and the attendance of countries was over 39 who attended the conference. So it was really great from the point of view of ensuring that we would galvanize and get the industry, geared up to navigate during the fourth industrial revolution.
How does South Africa, or let's say Africa's operations from a heavy haul perspective, differ from those other member countries such as Australia and Russia and China as the big ones?
So in the South African context, South Africa is a member of this global organization, which is called IHHA, International Heavy Haul Association. It's called these 10 member countries who are really countries that are moving bulk freight, mainly iron ore and coal, using heavier trains and long trains. And South Africa is a member of this, it's been a member over the past 40-year history of IHHA, also a founding member through Transnet. And we're members specifically because of our coal heavy haul line, which transport coal from Mpumalanga predominantly for export through Richards Bay, and also the iron ore line, which transport iron ore predominantly for export from Sishen to Saldanha. So those two lines makes us to qualify as part of this global community of heavy haul. And I can tell you now that we are very, very competitive as far as our heavy haul system, and that we've achieved through participating with the other 9 member countries in terms of the learnings, sharing of best practice, and in deploying cutting-edge technologies into the heavy haul system, having strict operating philosophies, strict maintenance regime as far as those operations. So we are really competitive. I mean, we run the Transnet has got the longest heavy haul train, production train in the world in the form of iron ore. Recently, we just started a project of running another train of 375 wagon train, which is beating our own record. And a number of countries are coming to the country to learn, to see what we do as Africa as far as heavy haul. But then if you look at the rest of the non-heavy haul or lighter freight industry within the Africa, I think we're still far behind as far as being comparable with the heavy haul, which is now an opportunity that we are having as an African community of railways to be able to tap into that best practice and apply it throughout the rest of the countries, which is what the South African heavy haul chapter is doing and is embarking on doing, to ensure that it can be a channel through which this best practice can be filtered throughout the rest of the Southern African railways and the rest of Africa.
So talking about best practices and the likes thereof, South Africa obviously participated from a technical perspective. How many papers from South Africa were presented, and who won, and what were the topics?
In South Africa, we had over 20 papers that were presented, about 16 of them coming from Transnet, and then the rest of the other industries. So of the 160 or so presented, over 20 were from South Africa, which is really great success. We had in total of about 25 25 people in the team that attended the conference. And I'm delighted to announce that, South African papers, they won some of the awards that were given at the conference. Okay, I would like to start firstly with a paper that was written by a lady by the name of Shanturi. So her paper was selected to be featured on the International Railway Gazette, international journal, which is very phenomenal, very, very, very strict in terms of featuring. They've got a very strict criteria. So that paper is one to feature there. There's another paper that was co-written by an employee from Transnet, and also the two co-authors from CSIR. That paper also won the best paper award. And then we also had another one which was written by two South Africans that also won the best paper awards. So, and another highlight is the fact that we had Robert Froling. Robert Froling won the Heavy Hall of Fame award, which is a Heavy Hall of Fame award. It's an award that gets given by IHHA to recognize an individual who's made a significant technical contribution to the developments within the heavy haul through sharing best practice, writing papers, technical advancements, and so on. So it's a consistent contribution of over 10 years. So he's a South African. Only 11 people have won this over the past 40 years. So he is one of them. It's a global heavy hall of fame award. And lastly, we had also the very experienced, enthusiastic person, South African, by the name of Pierre Lombard.
Yes.
Pierre Lombard was been a part of IHA many years, also close to when it started. He's been there. So now he was facilitating together with a gentleman from Canada by the name of Mike Roney, the development of the Heavy Haul 4.0 Vision 2030. So two of them were facilitating the development, leading the work group that was actually coming up with a strategy in Vision 2030, which was presented in Norway. The strategy will be finalized and shared and distributed as a white paper by next month. I will give the key highlights because they were presented at the conference. I think it became clear, from the work group that the future is going to be mainly driven by technology deployment, technology advancements within our operations. Because the customers, they're going to demand better service. The customers are not going to be tolerant of poor performance because they have a choice in terms of from which country should they they get their product. In this case, for example, for coal. So they have a choice. And we do know that the trucking industry is doing a lot of developments in terms of reducing their logistics costs through technology deployment. So we have no choice. To remain competitive as heavy haulers, we're going to need to up our game. And the Industry 4.0 type of solutions present that opportunity. So one of the main highlights to support that, what I've just said, is it's clear that automatic train operations is going to be the key feature going forward. What I mean by that is the use of technology to be able to control your train handling, some aspects of the train handling, so that the train can be run, can be operated to match its design parameters as it was designed. Because when you do that, you lower your energy cost. When you do that, your cycle time is lowered and you're predictive. You can arrive when you want to get to, at the time you want to arrive at. So we've seen from the conference that there's a number of railways such as Australia who have studied that, we've embarked on that, they shared the results that are showing a big difference in a situation whereby you've got a manual train handling versus the automatic train handling. So in our case, we've said it's not about not having a driver on the train, but it's about using the technology to assist the driver in terms of some of the parameters that the driver cannot be able to control. However, aspects such as supervising the train as it goes, monitoring the train performance, and acting on emergency, and some improvement within the train operation, they still need a driver, whether in the train. I think in our case we believe in the train. In the case of Australia, they don't have a driver in the train.
Yeah, it's completely
so it's remote. Yeah, it's autonomous, but you still have a driver that is in a remote area, so that when there's emergency they send it there. So it's very, very clear that you need to use technology, because you're not going to be competitive. So that was a main feature. And another one was that the heavy haul trains are going to be heavier and are going to be longer, because you're reducing your unit cost. And there are technologies that are going to help us in that drive. In maintenance, maintenance has to be predictive. We need to have predictive maintenance. We can't have reactive maintenance. So we need to have non-stop automatic train operations, so that you are able to support the drive of reliable service.
How do you, and this is your opinion, so like removing the Transnet Freight Rail hat, in your opinion, when you look at the type of technology that can be deployed, so the Rio Tinto autonomous train operation, there is significant, I assume that there is significant technology that has to be developed, and maybe some of it is off the shelf, maybe some of it is bespoke and custom development. But does that technology start from the track itself in terms of the axle load? Is it also sleeper technology, the maintenance? How do you make that predictive maintenance smarter? How do you get your train and track interaction going from a technology perspective, so that you can remote monitor and all of those things? What is it going to change to your current infrastructure and our current rolling stock? Where does that new technology come, and how do we retrofit it to what we have?
Yes. Thank you.
Big question.
I get it. No, it is. So firstly, it's going to start with the actual asset, which is the main asset, which is your rolling stock, specifically the locomotives. So there are technologies available out there to ensure that within the locomotive itself, you can have a technology that enables you to control your train. So a train control technology is already available. As we speak now, Rio Tinto is running driverless trains. We know in Brazil they're also doing some advanced train control technologies, as well as in the US and so on and so on. So the technology is there. This is now for the train itself, the locomotive itself. You need that. Another thing that we need, which is also available, is a real-time monitoring of the condition of the train itself, from its start all the way to its end. There are technologies like that already, such as machine vision systems, whereby a train can go through this measuring booth, and then before it leaves, it can measure all aspects, take pictures of all aspects of the train. And then also, you need, on the infrastructure, you need the same thing. So we need to complement our periodic measurements we do of, for example, condition assessment of the track, such as geometry and so on. You need to complement that periodic with some form of real-time measurement, where you can have the actual train, form of a train that is doing the measurement of the track condition. And then that needs to go to a central point, all that information, so that it can be analyzed. There's no use measuring and doing nothing about it. It needs to go to a central point where it can be analyzed and put it into information, so that you can be able to monitor the trends and start to do some data analytics on it. So, the technology are there. To me, it's a matter of, because Industry 4.0 is about convergence. It's about getting synergy of the technologies, so that the technologies don't work on each other in isolation. Yes. How do you put them together? From the sensor that is measuring, through the formation goes through your telecommunication system, all the way to your IT storage area, and then from there you apply some data analytics. Obviously, you have Internet of Things and all of those nice, solutions that are out there. But all that information goes to a central point, and you are able now to even put algorithms that will tell you what will happen and predict what will happen. So the main challenge of making the Industry 4.0 type of solutions work is being able to master the art of converging these technologies, of getting them to work together. Because it's when they work together that you get synergies and you get results. And then I think that's what Industry 4.0 is about.
All right. Just out of curiosity, and again, knowing that this is not a TFR interview, but hypothetically speaking, the heavy haul lines that we currently have here in South Africa, if we had to take the Rio Tinto approach, or the autonomous train approach, how many level crossings do we have on those lines, and how would those be managed? Would they be managed in a similar way as to how Rio Tinto did theirs?
In terms of level crossing. If you talk about, you make example of Rio Tinto is really at the extreme of automatic train operations. They drive driverless train traveling over 800 kilometers without a driver. So so in that scenario, so when you go to that extreme, your technology deployment has to be cutting edge technology. So you have to monitor almost everything. An example that they shared was that they've got a system that they've installed that actually does they call it a level crossing monitoring system. So it monitors any interaction closer to the level crossing. So it's a system that gives you like a view in front of the train, so maybe a couple of meters in front of the train, and then it measures any obstructions, whether it's animals, whether it's people or whatever. And when it picks up those things, the train is stopped immediately.
Yes.
So it's an advancement in terms of technology for that, because there's no driver on the train to see that.
And I can only see that as being the biggest risk.
It's the biggest risk.
Whether you've got a driver on the train or not, I mean, the interruption to operations
is
substantial.
Exactly, it has a big risk. But with us, if you think about our case, compare our heavy haul and maybe their heavy haul system. I mean, our trains goes through the townships. They sometimes pass through townships, and you possibly cannot afford to have a train without a driver would be a bit of a challenge for us. Because what happens when the technology fails? When the technology fails, what do we do? I mean, it's a problem. So we're still obviously using our traditional methods in terms of our level crossings and so on and so on. However, when you go to a situation whereby you're not going to have a driver, in fact, even if you're going to have a driver in the train, but you want to run automatic train operations, meaning that you want non-stop operations, because customers are demanding that.
Yes.
Non-stop operations right throughout, you do still need to advance in terms of technology from the point of view of detection, because you want to detect if there's a cow on the track, and then do something about it. Either stop the train instead of hitting the cow, for example, because that's not good, obviously.
No,
it's not
all
good.
round, not good.
It's not, in all aspects you can think of, it's not good.
Absolutely, all aspects.
All aspects. Don't hit the cows. So that's the difference. And the cars, anything, don't hit. So that's I think there's that difference. So.
Okay. So that is kind of where the thinking is going.
That's where the thinking is going. And then another the main element of the thinking is we also have a theme called people as part of our vision, human skills, where we're saying as a global heavy haul industry, we are collaborating and we want to do this in a responsible way.
Yes.
I think we're one of the very few industries that are collaborating at an industry level to apply their mind to say how are we going to navigate under the fourth industrial revolution, so that we are deliberate about things that can impact, for example, people. Because once you understand how the business model is going to be looking like in the future, whether we're going to have automatic train operations, we're going to have real-time condition assessments, we're going to have predictive maintenance. So we need to say what's the impact of that to the people, to the people themselves, and how will that change the functions? How will it change how the people work?
How will it change the job?
How will it change the job? Yeah, exactly.
And the skills around
the
it.
skills around it. But what we see, the emerging theme is that within the context of railways is we want to rely more on measuring conditions and picking up defects on technology. Use technology, because technology is very good at that, because it can measure. A crack inside the wheel I mean, there's no human that can be accurate to measure a crack inside the wheel because you can't see it. So you use technology to detect those things that are a limitation for humans. But then you have people now that do corrective measures, that come up with better ways, that actually fixes the problems.
But then the train driver is not just a train driver. The train driver also becomes an engineer or a programmer.
You've hit it.
So the skill changes, but then so does almost the seniority of the job.
That
it becomes a better paying job.
That is correct. It becomes a more attractive job,
Yes.
a more fancier job.
Yes.
Because now you're not just there to drive the train, control the speed and so on and so on. You are in control of the train now. You feel like you own the train. You are a supervisor of the train. It's like an autopilot system.
Yeah.
You're
a pilot.
Exactly. You're a pilot. So you are able to diagnose the problems, to diagnose the performance. As the train goes, you are looking at the forces. You are able to say, now we are reaching undesirable levels. You are able to understand your asset better because you are trained to do that. So and also when there's emergencies, you are able to take charge of the train and take it off automatically.
So as IHHA and perhaps in your role as from the South African chapter of IHHA, are you guys starting to take the ideas and the aspects that are coming from the technology to say these are the skills that now need to be added to all of these what were traditional jobs? So let's take it from what happens in the marshalling yard or in the loading area, or how the loading and discharging of the commodities.
Yes.
All of those aspects, I think, would change because it all then becomes very computerized and there's fairly complicated interfaces. So are you also looking at how that skill needs to be developed going forward so that you can support these operations locally?
Yes, exactly. We are doing it. As the South African Heavy Haul Association, which is a local chapter of IHHA, we've got a skills work group that is working exactly at that. Skills work group is made out of Transnet, a University of Cape Town, University of Pretoria, Wits University, and we're trying to get more other institutions involved, such as the CSIR and other universities. We're trying to increase that, even theatres to be a part of that theatre.
Yeah.
So and the BRICS skills work group, we want to collaborate, but we are leading it specifically focused on the railways. So this work group started last year to work on this. So they are looking at reviewing firstly the business model. How will the business model of the future look like? Which what IHHA now has done and informed. So the next step is they need to dig deep now and say which functions, current functions are going to be affected, and how will the way work is done in those areas change when you start to use technology. And then they look at what skills will be required compared to what we have now. And most importantly, what are the new skills that we're going to need? What are the new jobs that are going to be created? Because Industry 4.0 will have new jobs that are created, such as data analytics and so on and so on. So what are the new skills that we're going to require? So they are busy with unpacking that. Okay. It's a work group, and the outcome of that work group is going to be shared next year at the South African Heavy Haul Association, which will be held in April next year. So we'll unpack that. Yes, we'll unpack all of that.
So is there going to be a local event this year for you guys, or is it just going to be April next year?
No, we're not going to have a local event this year. We're all targeting April next year, because it's going to be a really, really big a conference. Sorry?
And it'll be in Johannesburg?
It will be here in Johannesburg at Emperor's Palace. It's a full conference. So we'll have that conference. We're working on that. Also part of that conference, we'll give more details on the outcome of Norway conference. We'll give more details. We'll also invite some guest speakers to come and share what's happening globally. Plus, it's going to be a great opportunity for the African railway community to put together their ideas in terms of technical advancements within the railways. And part of that conference of next year will be also be sharing what we'll be working on with the Southern African Railways, which is SARA Technical Group, Work Group. So remember last year we signed...
That is going to be my next question, so you beat me to it.
Yeah. So So next year we signed an MOU. So we are organizing a workshop with the technical group of all the Southern African railways. I think it's about 10 or 11 railway countries. We'll be meeting to talk about, now that we've heard what the global view is, where the globally the heavy haulers want to go, what's the case for us as Africa? Where do we want to go? Where do we see our railways going? So that we can define clearly where we want to go in terms of the Vision 2030 and what we need to do now to get there. So that, you know, we don't let technology just disrupt us.
Yes.
You know, we must just capitalize on it.
Okay, so aside from the fact that there are some new heavy haul lines being built in Africa, some of the, so like the MOU that you signed last year with SARA, getting normal railways or general freight business lines to think like a heavy haul line.
Yes.
It might not be the best way to phrase it, but it
it
is the
is.
way to phrase it.
It's actually, yes, it is. I think you're right.
What, in your opinion, are the takeaway points that from a heavy haul aspect can be applied to a GSB, a general freight line?
I think there's a number of learnings that can be applied from the heavy haul, you know, successes over the past 40 years. And I know that Transnet is also embarking on that program to start applying those principles on the general freight or lighter freight area. I mean, one of them is long train. I mean, running long trains. Because remember, you want to one of the main levers of reducing your unit cost is to run more per train.
Yes.
A train must carry more. Whenever it goes from point A to point B, let it carry more.
So a track is basically limited by its axle load.
Yes,
that
that's right.
axle load is obviously per wagon or per
It's fixed.
container, and obviously the weight of the locomotive itself. But there is technology, manufacturing technologies that are now enabling us to produce lighter wagons.
That's correct.
So therefore more can be put in a container or a wagon and all the rest. There's no real limitations then on the track, is there? You could run
there is. I get
a
you.
10 times longer train.
There is a limitation.
Is there?
There is.
What's
So
the limitation?
one of them, if you want to, on the existing track, that is, for example, 20 ton per axle, you want to run longer trains. You're running maybe 100 wagon train, you want to run 150 wagon train. You might find that you need to lengthen your loops, you know, lengthen your loops to ensure that you can have trains crossing, giving each other way, or you might need to install more loops. Loops is like escapes routes to give a way for another train to come in. Then once it's passed, and then you go through. So another one could be limitation in terms of your yards. You need to consider your implications on your yard. Because if you now suddenly have a long train coming into your yard, you need to make sure that you don't affect the operations. The same thing at the offloading end. It could be the port and so on. So there is. But if you're going longer trains, we found that it's more cheaper in terms of capital than if you were to upgrade the track. Because one option is to upgrade the whole track so that you make it able to carry heavier trains. So to do that, that means in most cases it means upgrading it and installing the more heavy duty material and so on. So which can be
That's quite capital intensive.
which is just capital intensive.
Yeah.
Typical example in Transnet recently, there was an option in the manganese train from Sishen to Saldanha to go heavier, which would have cost billions of rands, or to just go longer. And going longer, you know, it ended up costing TFR almost nothing. And the train is running now.
Because all you
7
guys
days a
did
week.
was add a couple of loops, hey? Or extended some of your loops.
No, not even.
even?
I think, remember, we're already running long trains on the iron ore
Yes.
line. We're already running a 342 wagon train. So we extended the manganese train to be 375 wagon train. I mean, 4 kilometers per train. And he was able, I mean, those trains are able to pass through those existing loops. So you just need to have more rolling stock, and then you more same rolling stock. And then you run your trains. We run those trains now, 7 trains a day. Now, as I'm speaking now,
Sure.
we've beat our own record. We used to have 342 wagon, now it's 375 wagon train. So another one is a strict operating philosophy. So applying the strict operating philosophy within the non-heavy haul railways is a big opportunity. From the point of view of measurement system, I mean, technology deployment on the heavy haul for measuring condition is far advanced compared to the general freight. So we need to start embarking on having superior measurement systems within the general, because when you have measurement system that tells you what's happening, then you are able to act, and correct, defects before they result into failures.
Yes.
So there's a big opportunity. There are also strict operating principles of ensuring that there's a discipline in operations. So if trains need to leave from point A to point B at a specific time, I mean there's less tolerance on heavy haul.
Yes.
Compared to the general. Even the maintenance principles, they are more stricter
Yes.
on general freight, or should I say lighter freight, compared to heavy haul. So there's a big scope for us to apply those principles. But on new projects that are of general freight or lighter freight, like a lot of projects we're doing, we'll be embarking on in the rest of the African railways. In those new projects, it is advisable to apply the heavy haul principles. Possibly when you build a new track, make it heavier from the start. I mean, Australia is going 40 ton per axle. 40 ton per axle, that is huge. I mean, in South Africa, we've got 26 ton and 30 ton per axle. So, make it heavier, because it's a competitive edge of making sure that you're carrying more per train, either by heavier or make it longer. And then on top of that, you've got your automatic train operations that ensure that you're running efficiently.
So what are your thoughts, and again, your opinion, nobody else's, the high-speed line between Durban and Johannesburg that may or may not be able to carry double-stack containers?
So I think my thought is it's something that we have to do. We have to do that. I mean, if you look at congestion between Durban and Joburg, I would say congestion on freight and congestion on people that are traveling, whether they are flying for business and so on. I mean, that route is busy.
Yes.
It's busy on the road. It's busy also on the airlines. It's very busy, but not on the rail. So it's a big opportunity from the point of view of ensuring that you can have that capacity where people can be on a train from Johannesburg to Durban almost at the same time they will take as if they were flying, because it will reduce the overall time for that. So I think, to me, it's a must-do project. And also, obviously, from Transnet's point of view, we've got a narco line there that is transporting freight. All we need to do is to improve it and make it more efficient so that you can be able to take a lot of cargo that is on the road onto rail. I think it's a program of Transnet that is working on. But the high-speed train, I think it's a must do it. And we need to leverage on what we have done already. Remember, Gautrain, one of the most successful projects in our country is Gautrain, recently completed. I mean, it's a model.
Yes.
You sit in that train, you feel like you're sitting in a train in Europe, in the US.
Yes.
It's amazing. And it's successful, it's running, less interruptions. So we need to leverage on those successes, on what we've done there, and actually, expand and do the long trains. But on the other hand, the good thing is I do know that there's a collaboration that is being started by various institutions and organizations to start, taking the idea into the planning phase. Okay.
In your opinion, without wearing any of your hats, your thoughts on open access, other operators on the network, as a means of finding efficiency and volume?
I'll just talk about what is happening elsewhere in the world, because that's my basis on what I've seen. I mean, elsewhere in the world, for example, in Europe and Australia, they've promoted open access to the network, whereby the infrastructure is an organization that not only accepts the operators from their organization or their entity, they also accept operations from outside, from private operators to come and access the network. It has been proven in other parts of the world that promotes economic activity, and also that stimulates the economy. It stimulates the startup of new businesses, such as new mining, junior miners, and so on, and even some freight operators. especially the smaller businesses. So that promotes, that access. So it's been seen as one of the stimulus for the economy. I mean, Australia, in a number of areas is like that. They take private operators to come and operate in their network. We've seen it, Deutsche Bahn, in Europe, in Germany. The same thing in Norway. Norway, the same thing. Norway has got a separate infrastructure owner, and then you've got private operators that are coming onto the network and operate the line. So it seems like a model. The model should work. However, the implementation is key. So it needs to have all support. It needs to be well thought through, and it needs support of the government. It needs the main support of the government, because you don't want to open access now and then realize there's so much demand out there to use your network and you're not able to keep up with matching the capacity. That's where you're going to need investment now from the government to come and assist you with that investment to ensure that your infrastructure is able to provide adequate capacity to not only to the internal operator but also to external operators. I think it's a great model that promotes the economic activity. That also, makes us to play the role of that developmental state. Of ensuring that our main role is to provide infrastructure, because by doing that, we are stimulating the economy. And new business can start. You are creating jobs, exactly. We are creating jobs through the process. So I think it's a great model if it's well thought through.